Hello boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be fixing Audi's trash ass lineup. So chill out, grab a snack, and let me cook. Now Audi doesn't necessarily make bad cars, but the problem is half of them don't even know what they want to be. The A4 disappeared, the A5 thinks it's an A4, they killed the TT and the R8, and their coolest engine is trapped inside their smallest sedan. So yeah, we got some work to do. I'm not going to throw a V8 in everything. Okay, we're doing this like Audi actually hired me. That means we're using platforms, we're using engines, and not trying to bankrupt Volkswagen for the second time. Now let's start with the easiest one, the A3 lineup, because Audi somehow managed not to ruin this one yet. And honestly, hats off to them. The regular A3 is the entry point. It looks good, it's comfortable, and it gives you the most of the Audi experience without requiring a financially irresponsible decision. Then you got the S3, same formula, except now it's actually fast. This is a daily driver for somebody who wants performance but isn't ready to explain an RS3 payment to their mother. And then there's the RS3, which is damn near perfect. It's small, aggressive, and it has that Daza, that 5-cylinder, you know what I'm saying? Baby V10. So what would I change here? Absolutely nothing. They already share platforms, electronics, and plenty of parts with other Volkswagen products, which keeps the regular cars affordable. And then on top of that, the RS3 gets its own engine and personality. So now it actually feels special enough to justify the extra money. Every car here has its purpose, the performance ladder makes sense, and Audi isn't spending unnecessary money on developing something new. So congratulations Audi, you survived the first round. But unfortunately, now it's time to talk about that A4 and A5, because this is where y'all started smoking crack. The A4 was one of the easiest cars in the world to understand, and you made it complicated. It was Audi's compact luxury sedan, and competed with the BMW 3 Series and Mercedes C-Class. Simple, and the A5 was the stylish one. 2 doors, lower roofline, slightly less practical, but you really didn't care because it looked better. Then Audi killed the A4 name, gave its job to the A5, and stopped selling the actual A5 coupe. Idiot. So here is my proposal. Rename the current car back to the A4, sedan, or technically liftback and Avant. That gives Audi its direct 3 Series and C-Class competitor back without developing an entirely new car. Then the A5 goes back to being a proper coupe. And no, we would not bring back another A5 Sportback. That shit was trash and would put us right back to where we started. 2 4-door cars competing for the same buyer. That's kinda dumb. The A4 handles practicality, and the A5 handles looking good while being slightly inconvenient. Underneath, they can share the same PPC platform, interior technology, engines, suspension components, and electronics. Audi would still have to pay for the coupe's unique body, tooling, and crash certification. But at least we're only funding one genuinely different car. And the performance lineup follows the same rules. A4, S4, RS4 for the sedan and wagon, A5, S5, and RS5 for the coupe. Now every car has a clear purpose again, but we still need to decide what engines go inside them. And this is where I owe Audi a small apology, because I said the S4 should get the RS3's 5-cylinder, and emotionally, I was cooking. Alright, but mechanically I made it burn the kitchen down. I'm not even gonna lie. The RS3's 5-cylinder sits sideways on a transverse platform, while the S4 and S5 are built around a longitudinal engine layout. So despite what I said before, Audi can't just snatch the engine out of an RS3, spin it around, and tell the mechanics good luck. Just can't do that. They need new engine mounts, cooling, transmission integration, electronics, crash testing, emission certification, the whole 9 yards. And doing all that for 2 cars that already have a perfectly usable V6 would make the accountants start throwing their chairs. So here is my realistic fix. The regular A4 and A5 keep Audi's turbo 4-cylinder, enough power for normal people, decent fuel economy, and Audi already builds that engine by the trillions. The S4 and S5 keep the 3-liter V6, but Audi needs to give them more personality. Like, no joke. More power, sharper tuning, real exhaust sounds. Please, no more fake engine noise. We not playing Forza, alright? Cut the shit. Around 400 horsepower puts them comfortably above the regular cars without getting too close to the RS models. Then the RS4 and the RS5 get the 2.9-liter twin-turbo V6 with around 500 horsepower. Or more if you being generous. But keep that hybrid shit away from me, alright? Keep that shit all the way over there. You seen how that went. You made it heavier and it got gapped even harder. But we live and we learn. Anyways, Audi already has experience with that engine. So we're upgrading an existing formula instead of developing some brand new science project. And most importantly, this is where I might be a little reaching a little bit, but it's been too long. Bring the RS4 Avant to America. BMW finally gave us the M3 Touring. Well, everybody except America. And Mercedes has spent the last few years emotionally confusing its customers. This is Audi's chance to remind everybody who made fast wagons cool in the first place. So no, the S4 is not getting a 5-cylinder. I know, I'm hurt too, But don't worry, I'm not getting rid of that engine. I'm saving it for a car where it actually fits. And trust me, we're gonna get there. For now, let's move up to the A6 and A7 because unlike the A4 and A5, these two actually know who they are, mostly. The A6 is a grown-up Audi. Comfortable, quiet, practical. It's for somebody who wants a luxury sedan but still needs to convince their boss it was a responsible purchase. So honestly, I'm not really going to change much. Keep the A6 sedan, keep the Avant, and let them share as much as possible with the Q5 and the rest of Audi's new platform family. Same electronics, similar engines, shared hybrid technology. That's how we keep development costs under control. The regular A6 gets the 3-liter V6, and the S6 gets the hotter version of Audi's existing twin-turbo V6, and the RS6 keeps the 4-liter twin-turbo V8 because I'm not stupid. Matter of fact, nobody at Audi is even allowed to touch the RS6, put the tools down, step away from the vehicle, and leave that wagon alone. Alright, now, the A7 should use most of the hardware the A6 does, but with a completely different purpose. The A6 is the sensible one. The A7 is what you buy when you want the same car but don't want anybody thinking you work in accounting. Lower roof, wider stance, more aggressive styling. Then you change a little extra for it because attractive people have been getting away with that forever. Underneath, the A6 and A7 can share their platforms, engines, transmissions, electronics, and most of their interior. That means Audi gets two distinct cars without actually developing two completely separate vehicles. Then the performance ladder stays simple. The A6 and A7 for luxury, S6 and S7 for a fast daily, and the RS6 and the RS7 for people who view speed limits as a friendly suggestion. Boom, no weird overlap, no identity crisis, just the practical car and the sexy car using the exact same expensive parts. Which brings us to the A8, Audi's flagship sedan that everybody forgets exists until one flies past them going 140 with diplomatic plates. The A8 is not a bad car. Its problem is that its competition is the S-Class, and they own the conversation when it comes to luxury. And the 7 Series looks like it was designed during an argument. And the A8 is just too reasonable. You're being a little too nice right here, Audi. So I'm not rebuilding it from scratch. That would cost an insane amount of money for a car that Audi doesn't even sell in huge numbers. Instead, give the A8 a stronger identity. Keep the design clean. Make the interior feel special without covering every surface with an iPad. Please. What the fuck? Why is that? Don't even get me started on that. Alright, dial it back. Alright? No iPads. Back to what I was saying. Sell it as a understated flagship. The car for somebody with real money who doesn't want the entire parking lot to know. The regular A8 keeps the V6 with hybrid assistance, comfortable, quiet, efficient. Exactly what the chauffeur ordered. Then the S8 keeps the 4-liter twin-turbo V8 because giant luxury sedans having enough power to embarrass sports cars will never stop being funny. And before anyone asks, no RS8. I'm sorry, that's not even if you're even thinking that, we should talk, You should comment down below. I really just want to know what you're thinking. An RS8. Let me know. It sounds amazing until Audi spends hundreds of millions of dollars developing a car that 6 YouTubers review, 12 rappers lease, and nobody else actually buys. Sorry. The S8 already does the job. Save the RS badge for cars that can support the extra engineering cost. So the A8 lineup is simple. One luxury flagship, one disrespectfully fast version, and no unnecessary science project. Would you look at us saving money? Which is perfect because now we gotta talk about the cars that are actually keeping Audi alive. The SUVs. And I already know that some enthusiasts are getting ready to complain, but no, I'm not deleting all the Q models. You might hate seeing SUVs everywhere, but these are the cars that are paying for all the irresponsible performance cars that we want Audi to build. The Q3 stays the affordable entry-level SUV, give it the same basic engines and technology as the A3, keep the price reasonable, and let it introduce normal people to the brand. Let the Q5 stay the main character. It's Audi's best-selling model, so this is not where we start experimenting. Regular Q5 for families, SQ5 for the dad who's always late to work, and maybe a RSQ5 if Audi can build it with existing RS hardware without charging Porsche money. Then the Q7 stays the proper 3-row family SUV, comfortable, practical, and available as a SQ7 for parents who need to get 7 people to soccer practice at 150 miles per hour. And the Q8 stays the stylish flagship. Same general family as the Q7, but wider, lower, and more expensive because once again, looking better has never been free. And the RSQ8 can stay too. It shares major hardware with other Volkswagen Group performance SUVs, so Audi isn't developing that whole monster by itself. That's exactly the type of corporate parts bin behavior we support. And above all of them, we finally get the Q9. This is Audi's actual full-size flagship, the car they should have built years ago to fight the BMW X7 and Mercedes GLS. 6 or 7 seat, real third row space, and enough luxury to make the A8 nervous. And better yet, Audi already did most of the thinking for us. The Q9 is official, and so is the SQ9. The regular model handles luxury, while the SQ9 brings the V8 and enough power to move a small apartment building. And no, we do not need a RSQ9. We're chillin'. The SQ9 is already fast, and nobody is taking a 3-row land yacht to a track day. Save that development money and let the RSQ8 remain the unhinged one. But here's where I'm cutting back. Not every SUV needs a sportback version. I don't know what's up with you and this sportback shit, but slow it down a little bit. Audi does not need to take every Q model, lower the roof 3 inches, remove some cargo space, and call it a brand new lifestyle. If a sportback uses mostly shared parts and the higher price creates enough profit, fine, keep it. But if Audi is paying for separate body panels, tooling, crash testing, and production complexity just to sell 12 of them, wrap it up, bro. Send that shit home. So the final SUV lineup is simple. The Q3 is the affordable entry point. The Q5 is the everyday bestseller. Q7 is the practical 3-row. Q8 is the stylish performance SUV. And the Q9 is the full-size flagship for people who think the Q7 is somehow too small. Each one gets bigger, more luxurious, and more expensive. The S models are fast and the RS models are completely unnecessary. In a good way though, and the profitable SUVs fund all the fun cars we actually care about. Boom, SUVs fixed. Now let's clean up Audi's electric lineup, because whoever named those cars was just typing shit. Audi's original plan was to use the odd numbers for gas cars and even numbers for the EVs. That's why the A4 disappeared and the A5 stole its job. Then Audi realized that was confusing and changed their minds. So now we got gas cars, e-trons, sportback e-trons, numbers changing jobs. Audi needed a naming strategy for its naming strategy. My solution costs almost nothing, keep the regular model names, and just add e-tron when it's electric. Simple. A4 the gas sedan, A4 e-tron is the electric sedan. A6 is the gas executive car, A6 e-tron is the electric one. Same goes for the SUVs. The numbers tell you the size, the e-tron badge tells you what powers it. That is it. We don't need a periodic table just to figure out which Audi we're looking at. And underneath, Audi can keep using its dedicated EV platforms and sharing batteries, motors, software, and charging technology with Porsche and the rest of Volkswagen Group. I'm not changing the engineering. I'm making the showroom understandable. And because that fix cost us approximately $17 in new badges, we finally have room in the budget for something fun. Bring back the TT. Not as a 6-figure electric spaceship, not as some oversized luxury coupe. Bring it back as a small, attainable, entry-level sports car. The base TT gets Audi's turbo 4-cylinder, the TTS shares the same powertrain with the S3, and the TTRS gets the 5-cylinder from the RS3. See? I told you I was going to save that engine. This actually makes more financial sense than putting it in the S4. The TT can use the same transverse architecture as the A3 family, then share engines, transmissions, quattro hardware, electronics, and interior components. Audi would still have to pay for unique body, tooling, and crash certification, so no, it wouldn't be free. But underneath that body, we're rating the Volkswagen parts bin like the rent is due. And the TTRS gives Audi something it desperately needs. A car with an actual personality. Small body, 5-cylinder engine, quattro. Weird little shape. It would be like a baby R8 for people whose credit score hasn't reached supercar levels yet. And speaking of R8, y'all thought I forgot. Audi absolutely needs another halo car. But developing an entirely new supercar cost an irresponsible amount of money. The original R8 made sense because Audi shared major development and hardware with Lamborghini. So if Volkswagen Group has another supercar platform Audi can realistically share, Bring the R8 back. Gas, hybrid, electric, I honestly don't care. As long as it looks special, feels like an Audi, and gives the brand technology it can use in other cars. Because the R8's job isn't just to make money. Its job is to make a kid fall in love with Audi before they're even old enough to buy a car. The SUVs pay the bills, the regular cars create volume, the S and RS models give the lineup performance, and the TT makes Audi fun again. And the R8 gives everybody something to dream about. So that is my repaired Audi lineup. Fewer identity crises, clearer names, shared platforms, realistic powertrains, and just enough financially irresponsible behavior to make the brand exciting again. Audi already owns most of the engines, platforms, and technology it needs. They just gotta put the right parts in the right cars. So what do you think about my revised lineup? Did I fuck up? Could you do better? Let me know in the comments, man. Oh, and Audi, if you need somebody to run product planning, my email is in the description.